A Russian-drafted Security Council resolution condemning the aggression of United States allied military strikes against Syria has failed to attain the minimum 9 votes for passage. The Council met in an emergency session Saturday in New York after US, British and French forces conducted overnight strikes against installations in Syria over chemical weapons use in the country. While Russia has condemned the aggressions as a blatant disregard for international law and the UN Charter, the United States warned that it was prepared to launch further action if Syria's government continued to use chemical weapons against its own people.
Some 100 missiles were launched against targets in Syria, installations the United States and its allies says were chemical weapons sites and research facilities. Russia furiously accused the United States, France and the United Kingdom of undermining work to find a political solution to Syria's war.
США и их союзники продолжают демонстрировать вопиющее пренебрежение к международному праву.
The United States and its allies continue to demonstrate blatant disregard for international law. Although as permanent members of the Security Council, they must be especially firm in protecting the provisions of the UN Charter. It was shameful to hear how, in justifying the aggression, an article of the U.S. Constitution was mentioned. Now we have the greatest respect to the right of each state to respect their own founding law. However, Washington should learn, it's time for Washington to learn that the International Code of Behavior regarding the use of force is regulated by the United Nations Charter.
The targets we selected?
The United States argued that they had given diplomacy a chance, but that Russia had vetoed 6 attempts to address chemical weapons use in Syria.
With yesterday's military action, our message was crystal clear. The United States of America will not allow the Assad regime to continue to use chemical weapons. Last night, we obliterated the major research facility that it used to assemble weapons of mass murder. I spoke to the president this morning, and he said if the Syrian regime uses this poisonous gas again, the United States is locked and loaded.
France's ambassador François Delattre told the meeting that Paris had published intelligence reports removing all doubt that President Bashar al-Assad was responsible for the disputed chemical weapons attack in Douma, while the UK's Karen Pierce accused the Syrian government of the gravest violations of international humanitarian law in modern history.
It is hard to believe that it is in line with the principles and purposes of the Charter to use or condone the use of chemical weapons. And in the United Kingdom's view, it cannot be illegal to use force to prevent the killing of such numbers of innocent people. I will take no lessons, Mr. President, in international law from Russia.
African countries called for an urgent return to dialogue.
We call for maximum restraint, the exercise of wisdom, as well as a quick return to dialogue among the major powers that have enormous influence on the current situation in Syria. As we have stressed yesterday and earlier, it's absolutely vital to resume the path of diplomacy.
Monsieur le Président,
France also indicated that it would introduce a new resolution to address chemical weapons use, the humanitarian crisis and the peace process in Syria. Sherwin Bryce-Pease, SABC News, New York.